Hey everybody, and welcome back to the next part in my dialing in series for the Line 6 Helix. Today I'm exploring an amp model which up until literally when I decided to do it for this video, I had never even tried. I always kind of meant to get around it, but I guess there's the problem with the Helix, right? We have so many amp models, it's tough to actually find some time to actually get to dialing them in, right? So anyways, the amp model I'm talking about is the Supro, or in the Helix it's called the Sup Pro, right? But what it is modeling is the Supro S6616 amp. From my tiny little bit of research I did with this, from what I believe is it was a very simple amp, 6v6 based, maybe one 6v6 tube. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that. And it had an interesting speaker cab that went with it that was a 6x9 speaker, so more of an oval shaped speaker. Again, this is my understanding. And I think that's kind of backed up if we go over to HX Edit here and look at what they call it, the Supro Ellipse, right? So I think they're kind of alluding to that fact as well. So I really didn't know much about this, and as I was reading about it, there was some rumors online stating that, you know, maybe Jimmy Page used this or a very similar Supro amp on the first two Zeppelin recordings. So I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. So I thought I'm going to see what I can come up with as far as, again, a for a 4-snapshot preset, ranging from, say, clean all the way up to as much drive as we can get out of it. I don't think it's really supposed to be a high gain amp, but let's see if we can get some sort of vintage dirt out of it, right? What I found is I started dialing it in with a different guitar, but I tried this preset with, after I was done kind of messing with it, with a couple different guitars, and it really sounded good with these P90s. These are Duncan P90s, and it sounded really nice with that. So let's dive over to HX Edit again. So what I did, again, I'm already dialed in this sound, so let's just run you through what I did. Again, I have my normal kind of mastering section at the end, peak reduction on the LA Studio Comp at 5.5. No real special EQ other than high cut at 12 kilohertz, low cut at 100 hertz, which is kind of where I'm always at. You know, if somebody wants to change that, they're welcome to. I threw a 63 spring verb on with a decay of 3.4, pre-delay of 10 milliseconds, mix of 21%, just to give it a little bit of ambience. And I used a transistor tape delay, but only on the lead snapshot where that came on. And that had a feedback of 18%, mix of 19%. So just a touch of that. What I did utilize in this one was my little split crossover that I like to use a lot. And I set the crossover point at 650 hertz. And for most of these, I ended up adding about 2 dB on all the frequencies above 650 hertz. And I dialed out, actually, on the clean 3 dB below 650, but I believe on the push, the overdrive, and the lead, those all had 5 dB below 650 hertz taken down. And let's see here. Yeah, so plus 2 dB on the clean above 650 hertz, and the rest of the snapshots were just plus 1.5. Very subtle changes, but it kind of opened the amp up a bit, gave it a little more brightness, and took care of some of the maybe flubby low end. Now, the reason there could be some flubby low end is what I did decide on using was the 4038 ribbon mic, which just had a certain character I enjoyed for this. At a distance of 7 inches, which is probably closer than what I would normally use it, but that's why I was dialing so much back out of the frequencies below 650 hertz. So it's a bit of a balancing act, and there's so many possibilities when you use the split crossover and the different mics and the different distances. You know, could I have got the same thing with a 121 ribbon, maybe without so many lows pulled out? Sure. Or a 160 ribbon, or, you know, there's so many ways. And like I said, I'm never saying that, you know, what I did here is the only way to come up with anything. It's just one of the ways that I got to a point that I was happy with, right? So as far as the amp goes, it's kind of interesting. For a lot of the snapshots, I ended up with the tone stack just cranked to 10, okay? So the interesting thing is I started this off by messing with the lead snapshot. So if you look at the settings on that, I have drive at 10, bass at 8, tone at 9, the tone was basically making the tone, I don't know exactly what it's doing, but a typical tone control is darkening it up at the lowest settings and brightening it up a lot at the higher settings, right? So I had that at 9 on the lead, treble at 10, presence at 10, and master at 10, drive at 10, okay? So really kind of cranked up. On the overdrive, I had basically everything at 10, master, presence, treble, bass, and drive. The tone at 8, okay, just to kind of take a little bit of the edge off the high end. And then on the push, I had drive back to 6, master back to 5. The tone stack still, everything on 10 except the tone back at 8. And then on the clean, which we'll look at in a second here, everything was on 10 as far as the tone stack goes. The master was pulled back to 4 and then drive back to 3. Something else I did on the lead snapshot just to get a little bit more drive out of it is I added a kinky boost with the drive set at 3.6 and the bright switch on. And I tried a whole bunch of the overdrive and distortion pedals that we have in the Helix with this, and everything was changing the character of the amp for my opinion and my taste, except the kinky boost. The kinky boost kind of kept the character of the amp intact, but just gave me that little extra push I needed to hit the front end of the amp, so I got a little more sustain for our leads. So that's what I did with it. So let's take a listen to how these sound. That's basically it in a nutshell as far as what I did to get them. So here's the clean tone. This is the bridge pickup on the Godin Summit Classic with the Seymour Duncan P90s. If I go to the neck pickup, and the middle position. So very nice stuff. I like the jangliness of the tone. Really kind of, you know, considering I'm using the 4038 ribbon, I'm still getting, especially in the middle position, there's some real nice fatness and brightness at the same time where it kind of cuts nicely. So really nice stuff on that. The next snapshot where we'll go to the amp settings, which is where most of the stuff's happening. So the drive went from 3 and the master on 4 on the clean to up to 6 and the master on 5 when I get to the push. And that sounded like this. Something I really liked about that, middle position with neck and bridge. Neck pickup. So really nice stuff, kind of a nice breakup on this now. Back to the bridge pickup. Really liking that. Then I push it a little bit more to get into the overdrive territory. Now this is where basically everything's on 10 except for that tone control, which is pulled back to 8. So this is about the most distortion you're gonna get out of just this amp. I mean, unless you're using higher output pickups. These P90s are, you know, I don't know, they're probably like medium vintage kind of output as far as I can tell. So a nice amount of gain. It's not obviously crazy high gain, but you can kind of hear how it's starting to get maybe into like what some of the rumors say, into like early Zeppelin type of territory, right? Anyways, I'm really liking that neck and middle position. And the neck pickup. So some really nice stuff there. And that brings us to the lead snapshot, which, like I said, I pulled the tone up to 9 there, pulled the bass back to 8, just to give it a bit more, maybe cut, a little less in the bottom, and I added the kinky boost now, and that sounded like this. Middle and neck together. And the neck position. So you can see that kinky boost really didn't change the character of it too much. It just added a really nice boost to it, exactly what I was looking for. So what do you guys think of that? I kind of dialed this in using my power cab, which is I'm playing through now, but I also kind of cross-referenced it on my studio monitors and also some other guitars, and the patch, it works nicely. I think it's the type of thing, it's fairly warm sounding, it's not too brittle. Some folks might find it a bit dark. Like I say before, I do like to dial things in a little bit dark, and then when you do crank them up to stage volumes, you're not getting that piercing, those piercing highs, but lots of control here. If you do want some more brightness to it, go to your split crossover, dial that up a little bit. You can kind of see how that's going to affect things. Right, so just with that, you can really shape the top end contour of your tone, get a little more brightness, but it still doesn't get really ridiculously harsh. Although when you do crank it up to stage volumes, maybe it will start to get that harshness we don't want. So if you do find this a little dark for your own tastes and your own guitar, your own pickups, your own monitoring system, your own room and everything else, you can tweak it in that manner to kind of tailor it to what you want, you know? All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm gonna have this up on CustomTone very shortly for everybody to grab. And I hope you guys like the patch, and I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made it. If you do, like the video, share it if you don't mind, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate everybody's support, and I thank you guys so much for the kind comments and the kind words and the input you give me on a lot of things. It's really appreciated. It's fun to have discussions with everybody about those things. So I'll be back soon with some more content, hopefully enjoyable content, and ciao for now. We'll talk to you soon, and thanks so much for tuning in again.